and quick, I would just be straight and ask our first presenter, what is really important for me to actually venture into research enterprise? Should I look at the value of the IP that I'm trying to create, or is there any other aspect that I need to focus such that I can actually have the confidence to say, you know what, I can take the risk for this?
So if I understand your question correctly, you are asking what is important to migrate from academia to the private sector. Do you need to look at the value of the IP, or is there something else?
Correct, just the value of the IP to give me that level of confidence.
So the very first thing you have to figure out is if there's a market for that IP. The IP will be packaged into a product. Is there a market for it? So when I spoke about the innovation network, the very first node was idea evaluation. And under idea evaluation, where I must, to my shame, admit, I spent less time on that node when I was in academia. When I started to do research with my own money, we spend the most of time, probably now there, so that we call out the ideas. We believe in failing and failing fast. So in theory, we test these ideas to death before we allow them to progress to research. So you have to have a market in idea evaluation. One of the questions you ask is there a market for this product? What is the future for it looks? Who will be your first market, your short-term market, who will be your long-term market? Then you ask, who are the competitors in the field? So you're always scanning the landscape for new markets, new competitors entering, etc., etc. If your IP has value, I always say it's great to know what the IP lawyer says your IP is valued at. The only number I believe is if I sell that IP in the market, what the market is willing to pay for it. So I'm very practical in that sense. IP lawyers won't agree with me. I don't know if that answered your question.
Thank you for wonderful presentations. My comment or question is on the second one, out of interest also. Do you perhaps work with municipalities when they face crises like Hammanskraal? There's been a water issue there, because if you have a mobile lab, it moves faster than when scientists have to go to site, collect the samples, go back to the lab, spend so many days testing. And also, is it accredited, or are you working towards accreditation?
Thank you for the question. So yes, so previously we used to work with municipalities and with the Department of DIWA. So we used to test their samples, or used to send it to us they used to send samples to an accredited lab and to us as well, just to check that the results are, our results are comparative. Right now, because we just launched the mobile lab, we're still doing field testing, right? We have interest from municipalities, but unfortunately with municipalities there's no funding. They don't have money. So we're trying to create, to get funding from government where we can take the mobile lab to example, as you said, to Hammanskraal on our own payment. We don't have to get municipalities to pay for it. So we're trying to apply for those type of funding to take the mobile lab out to places where funding is not required. As you indicated with the Hammanskraal, actually 2 weeks ago, my supervisor, my boss, is like, okay, we need to test those water samples. And unfortunately, we didn't take the mobile lab out there is because we didn't want to cause some panic or chaos. But we went as privately to collect the water samples and to test it. So we can go out and collect the water samples without the mobile lab. It's just that for now, we do not want to cause panic and chaos, because once you see this mobile lab and coming there, especially in that type of area, you're asking for trouble. So we're in the process of seeing how we can take these mobile labs out, to areas that's required. We haven't as yet, but we would like to in the future.
You work with the SANDF on the wall.
We haven't with SNDF, but we are working with University of Johannesburg to take it out with the VAL. So we're doing projects with the MEC. So our rescue team, they do projects on the VAL. So we are taking it out early next year to assist them in testing the water and testing our lab, how it can, produce and such.
My question is to the first speaker. Thank you so much for giving an insightful talk around entrepreneurship. I think a lot of the times, as a science student, when you hear entrepreneurship, you get scared and just want to stay away from it. So my question is, when you transitioned into entrepreneurship, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome that? And when you're looking back now on your journey, how soon would you have started to venture out into entrepreneurship while you're pursuing your academic career?
So thank you for your comment. So let me start by saying there was one thing that kept me in academia for a very long time, that prevented me from going to the private sector. I never thought actually I would end up in the private sector. And then when I realized this is what I would have to do next, I was paralyzed by fear. I had this incredible fear that it would fail. Because back then, all the research was saying 3 out of 4 biotechs fail in the first 3 years. Until one day I realized fear is just an ego thing. So it wasn't actually the failure, it was that I will have to admit that I couldn't make something work. So once I realized, okay, so this is just an ego thing, you get over that, and if you don't, and you start your own company, trust me, in the first 3 years, the private sector sorts out your ego. Because I have no ego left, I have no pride left. I'll go and sit in front of the office of a big CEO because I'm a small company CEO. They always make me wait. I sit there and I work there for 7 hours, and I've done so. So if my teams need something, I will do it. So the fear component is, in my case, it was more of an ego thing. I was successful in science, now I'm making this transition. What am I if I'm not successful in business? So I'm admitting it. And your second part was, would I have done it sooner? The answer is no, because for me personally, I was very happy in academia. I thought I was actually going to retire in academia. Even when I started the company, I had a dual model with a different university, where I had an academic department on the one side, ran it as head of department, and also the company, because I wanted to train a generation of students who were not afraid of the private sector, and train and have private sector people working in very close contact with academia. Eventually, both entities became too big, and I had to make a decision. I thought I would just appoint another CEO for DNA Biotech. As it turns out, due to reasons we can talk about later, I moved away from the academic entity, gave that back to the university, and stayed in DNA Biotech. So, but that is just my own story. Most entrepreneurs will tell you I should have done this many, many years ago. There were also other factors. I was part of the human genetics department, the university closed down, so I had to decide, do I go private or not? So there were many factors. It was a multifactorial decision, but yes, in my case, unless that happened, I would probably have retired in academia. And if you ask, along with this, people often ask, was it worthwhile? I will say, migrating from academia, in my case, for me personally, from a researcher career to an entrepreneurial career was the most difficult thing I've done in my career. But it is also, by far, the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
That is really inspiring. Yes.
Thank you very much. The first speaker, I really enjoyed your talk, your presentation, especially because that is the space where I operate, genomics. Okay. I want to link this with the previous discussions on the 4IR, especially with your presentation. South Africa have defined 4IR in their own context. They contextualize it in this way. Let me read. The fourth industrial revolution is an era where people, you see people first, are using smart, connected, converged, cyber, physical, and biological. That's why I'm saying very important, because you are bringing the biological side of things and the people side of things. Not just the programming and other things. I'm just contextualizing it. Systems and smart business models, you're talking about business, to define and reshape the social, economic, and political spheres. So that's why I kind of enjoyed the way you contextualize in a holistic view. But I have a question for you at the end. I was hoping you will respond or not pose a question to us. So what are the implications to researchers in the genomic environment by this YR? You posed as a question, but I was hoping you will give us some pointers in terms of the answer. Thank you.
So clearly, thank you for your question and your kind comment. Clearly knowing enough or knowing a lot about genomics is not enough anymore. I didn't even have biology at school, perhaps I should say that. I started my career as a typist in a typing pool. I was then a medical technologist. Some of these things I've done in parallel, so I'm not 100 years old. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is I have adapted over time to different jobs that I've had in my life. As I have come to know more, so as my education has progressed, I've learned more and more knowledge. But you have to integrate that, and you have to adapt. So it's of very little use that I know a lot about genomics, but I know nothing about the digital world. At the Science Forum SA last year, I said, if you are working in genomics and you are not using machine learning, you are so far behind, I do not have a plan for you to catch up. And I was not popular for it. But that is just the thing. You have to embrace the new technology and not just look at it, not just know about it. You have to eat it, taste it, live it, swim in it. Go talk to people who really understand the fourth IR. Let them explain to you what is machine learning. It will blow your mind. The many applications, if you just converse genomics and machine learning, there can be a business for each of you just in that field. Have I answered your question?